Russia could go on a gold standard tomorrow and expose that fiat currency for what it is. And that would be the end of the dollar. We're looking at 60% of the world's population, or nations representing 60% of the world's population, turning against the dollar in one swift move. It will be the end of the dollar. It will be the end of every dependent currency, fiat currency, unless they are prepared to embrace the gold standard.
With every passing day, the state of the US economy bears more and more resemblance to previous periods of immense financial strain, such as the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, the 80s high inflation, high interest rate environment, and perhaps even the late 1920s before the Great Depression. With a debt-to-GDP ratio of 130%, the United States is one of the world's most indebted nations. The economic situation is expected to get even more heated in the coming years, as the US racks on more debt and debt expenses. Experts forecast that the US economy is heading in the same direction as Japan, which has a 260% debt-to-GDP ratio and is currently on the verge of a sovereign debt crunch. Alasdair Macleod, a prominent precious metals analyst and head of research at Goldmoney, firmly believes going back to a gold standard is the only thing that can save the global financial system from a massive implosion that will see many people lose everything. In a recent interview with Capital's, Alasdair reveals how Russian President Vladimir Putin can put an end to the West's hypocrisy and dominance over the rest of the world by making a simple decision that will simultaneously immediately tank the dollar's value. This decision would be Putin advocating for Russia and its allies to return to the gold standard. This includes the other 10 BRICS plus nations, the 25 nations that have informally applied to join the alliance, as well as members of other affiliated alliances, including the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union, and the Belt Road Initiative. Alasdair adds that with such a massive force adopting a gold standard, the dollar's status as a global reserve currency will quickly diminish, and gold prices will skyrocket wildly. We will now present clips from Alasdair Macleod's interview with Capital's. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications bell for more videos like this. We appreciate the support and enjoy the video.
America is losing its power. This is notable particularly in the way in which the dollar is being used less internationally. China and Russia, between them, are determined to do away with the dollar as much as possible. And so they're accepting each other's currencies. In the planning stage, they hope to introduce their own currency for trade settlement. That will be discussed at the next BRICS big meeting, which is in October in Russia. Russia, incidentally, is the chair of BRICS and has been driving, sort of monetary policy thought for BRICS. China will be the next chair of BRICS. So you can see that they've got a very firm hold on the way BRICS is developing and how trade settlement is going to occur. So all these factors seem to me to be at the worst possible time for America, when it's just entering a debt trap, driving the dollar out of use internationally, which basically means it will be sold down in the markets. We're already seeing this. I mean, when you look at Central Bank of China is doing, I keep on telling people they're not buying gold, they're selling dollars. The emphasis is important to understand. They are selling dollars rather than buying gold. And that's a process which I see continuing. This is actually a very worrying thing, because in this Thucydides trap, America is behaving exactly as the good Greek general of all those millennia ago was predicting. They are just refusing to let go. If anything, they are likely to accelerate the move towards war. I think Russia and China, thank goodness, are being pretty patient about how they deal with this. This is not good. It is quite possible that we are heading towards all-out war. I mean, when I see France, for example, and also in this country now talking about it more openly, putting troops on the ground in the Ukraine. This is a provocation which really brings NATO directly into conflict with Russia. It's difficult to see how you can have that without actually a formal declaration of war. So this situation is actually getting a lot worse, and it's getting a lot more tense. I think that there is a way out on this one, and it's a dangerous one, and that is for Russia to destroy the dollar, which it can do. Russia could go on a gold standard tomorrow and expose that fiat currency for what it is, and that would be the end of the dollar. and quite quickly too. I mean, you can imagine the legion, if you like, of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization members, their affiliates and associates. We're looking at 60% of the world's population, or nations representing 60% of the world's population, turning against the dollar in one swift move. It will be the end of the dollar. It will be the end of every dependent currency, fiat currency, unless they are prepared to embrace the gold standard. I really don't see that America is in a position to do that, either intellectually or practically.
Putin recently spoke at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on June 7th, where he criticized U.S. economic policies, arguing that they are diminishing the dollar's global dominance. Today's U.S. authorities are breaking their tools of greatness, Putin said. The dollar is one of the few instruments of today's greatness of the United States. They are pushing the global economic agents away from the dollar with their own hands. It will happen anyway due to the shrinking of the U.S. economy, but they are accelerating this process. Naturally, new instruments are emerging, such as financial instruments of the central banks, which we discuss with BRICS. The Russian president also discussed the massive U.S. debts and growing trade deficits. He said, "The United States has a $1 trillion trade deficit every year. This is a modern version of neocolonialism. By using the dollar's monopolistic status, the U.S. consumes $1 trillion more annually than it produces. We are considering diversification in order to balance the current industrial situation, the real economy, and the future situation." According to Alasdair, this diversification involves using local currencies, a cross-border payment system, and possibly a gold standard to bypass the US dollar. Let's get back to the interview.
It's in their toolbox. I mean, there are senior Russians who do understand the benefits of putting the currency on a gold standard. I mean, I'll give you an example as to why it really would be very, very good for Russia. At the moment, the central bank's deposit rate is 16%, and that's what's needed to stabilize the ruble. If the ruble went on to a gold standard, then practically for Russian banks, for example, Chinese banks, other banks, it would make sense for them to buy gold in the West, where the yield is 2%, sell it to the Central Bank of Russia in return for rubles, which linked to gold is a gold substitute, and they're picking up 14% on the way. What's not to like?
Yeah.
That is actually the way in which you manage a gold standard. You don't use interest rates to try and manage the economy. You use interest rates to manage your gold reserves. That was learned the hard way in the wake of the 1844 Bank Charter Act in the UK, because it failed something like 3 times before they actually realized that you don't use interest rates to try and manage an economic outcome or to manage the banking system. What you do is use it to exclusively manage your gold reserves, and then you don't have a problem. So on that basis, it's very easy for Russia to stabilize her situation. And just think of the benefits. Interest rates would then decline. Russians in business would find that they can, if you like, their business calculations become a lot more profitable. It means that they will be able to cut the cost of their output and all the rest of it. It would be like another industrial revolution. I mean, it would be fantastic for Russia. And it would actually get her away from having to rely on the export of commodities in order to have a surplus on A, her balance of trade, and B, on her budget. The situation in Russia is that taxes, if you look at personal income tax, it's around about 13%. The higher rate is 15%. I mean, these are levels we dream of. Corporation tax is 25%, admittedly. The government debt to GDP is, and this is despite the war and all the financing of the battles against Ukraine, debt to GDP is only 21 or 22%. So you can see that actually Russia is in an amazing situation, and she can easily go onto a gold standard. She has been pushing for this. She wanted to get gold, a gold-backed currency onto the agenda at the last BRICS meeting, but it was turned down by China and India. India does not want to upset the West. India is not in a position, really, to consider a gold standard because she's been in denial about gold for God knows how long. She's tried to stop her citizens from buying it. It's only recently that she started increasing her gold reserves once she realized the geopolitical situation she was in. As far as China is concerned, it's clear that China does not want to rock the boat. China does not want to poke the American eagle, as it were, by overtly being responsible or partly responsible for the collapse of the dollar. China has made contingency plans against that event. She's going to await developments, I think, before she takes a move to protect her own currency. And when she does, it's almost certain that she will also put her currency onto a gold standard.
Financial analysts and economists at UBS, a prominent global financial services firm, have recommended purchasing gold rather than selling it during price dips. According to a note recently published by the financial services firm, the recent drop in gold prices was due to strong US payroll and earnings data, coupled with a rise in the 10-year US data and the US dollar index. The team added that there are still a lot of economic weaknesses, and the Federal Reserve will likely indicate 2 rate cuts before the end of the year. With all these added to ongoing geopolitical risks and the upcoming US election, UBS advises maintaining about 5% gold in a USD balanced portfolio to manage uncertainties. Please share your thoughts on Alasdair Macleod's predictions for the US dollar, gold, and the global economy in the comments section below. Also, ensure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications bell for more videos. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.